Oh, thanks for that lovely introduction, Phil. I appreciate that. Appreciate you. Appreciate this group. I do have some brochures here of other services that we provide besides business coaching, but today I just wanted to give you a little more idea of where I come from and what what some of my qualifications are, and who is that Meuli in the Meuli Law Office. So, and why did they pronounce that name so funny? So that's what I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about today. But I started out back in August of 1988. That's when I passed the Wyoming bar. So that's, was that 30 years ago? Okay, so I've been doing this for a little bit of time. I passed the bar when I was 2.5 years old. So I'm not that old yet, but when I passed the bar there, I went to work for the state of Wyoming, and I became their mineral tax attorney. And what that was, in Wyoming, they have three types of taxes that fund the state. One of them is mineral tax, and so that's what I did. Within my first 2 weeks on the job, I was litigating oil and tax revenue, and my first case right out of the chutes of law school was for $189 million. I was defending that case for the state, and fortunately, the system was rigged enough that we were allowed to win that case. At the end of being the Attorney General, my client, actually Department of Revenue, hired me after I successfully defended a $6.4 billion valuation case for them, and they decided that they wanted me on their side. So they hired me to be their excise tax director, which is a fancy word for a sales and use tax collector. So I started working for the Wyoming Department of Revenue as the director of their excise tax department. I had 38 employees, 12 of them reported directly to me. I was personally responsible for a $1.7 million budget, and we brought in about $380 million in tax revenue every year. So I got kind of used to the big boys, I got kind of used to the big numbers, and I got kind of used to the big litigation. I got used to it, but I didn't like it. And part of being appointed as a director in Wyoming meant that the governor was the one who appointed you. And so I got appointed by the first governor, and when the season changed, we had a new governor come in. That one disappointed me. Because I was a political person, and so I was moved on. I was in the wrong party and those kind of things. So I had to find something else to do real quickly, and I was pretty tired of litigating. So what I did was I went to work for the Wyoming State Parks and Historic Sites, and I built their registration, their decal registration program for their snowmobiles. So what I did was I helped them raise the revenues for the snowmobiles, and we went out and groomed all the trails, and so I was actually riding snowmobiles for a living, which was kind of cool to do. Yeah, sorry. But after that, I started volunteering my time and working pro bono, which means you don't get paid, with the public defender in Wyoming. And a lot of the people that I was defending were 18-year-old males who were behind bars, and their lives were completely ruined because, that's where they were. And so I got this bright idea that I really can't help them a whole lot now that they've been incarcerated. I could help them a lot more if I could meet them before they got incarcerated. And so that's when I got the bright idea of becoming a teacher. And so that's when I moved to Colorado. And I got my teacher's license in a little under a year, and I started teaching everything from 5th grade all the way up to the Master's in Public Administration program for CU at Denver. So I became a teacher, and I tried to affect these people's lives before they went to jail. And from a lot of the parents who talked to me, we were somewhat successful. I have taught over 2,500 children, and that they were in 5th, 6th, 7th grade a lot of times. And so when I'm in the supermarket and someone says, "Mr. Meuli," it's like, oh, am I going to remember this person? Because now they're 10 to 15 years older, and yeah. So I usually smile and it comes back to me, but to be honest, I don't remember all 2,500 of those kids that I taught. After a while, I remember who they were. The bad ones I remember really well. So, I went through that tragedy, but that's what brought me down to Colorado. And so then when I was in Colorado in 2008, this was 20 years to the day that I took the bar examination in Wyoming. I decided to sit for the Colorado bar exam, never having even stepped foot in a Colorado law school, and never having done a whole lot of Colorado law. I thought, how hard could it be? It's got a 42% pass rate. I should be able to sit in there with 750 of my closest friends and pass this thing. And so I signed up and I went in and took my laptop and my keyboard because I knew I was going to have to type a lot. And wow. I got on the third row. I don't know, I must have signed up real early, and I was in there typing away. I put in my earplugs so I wouldn't be distracted. Halfway through the exam, an earplug fell out, and it sounded like it was raining. And I thought, what's going on? And I turned around, and the other 700 people behind me all had laptops as well, and everyone was typing. And that clicking, it just sounded like rain. I was thinking, whoa, what am I doing? Look at this number of people. And you could see the other people's screens, and they had these big dissertations on their screens. You couldn't read what they were, but you could see that person's really writing a lot on their essay. And I look at mine, I got 3 or 4 sentences. It's like, wow. But anyway, God was gracious, and I passed. And so I got my Colorado license as well as my Wyoming license, and that's basically what brings me here today. So in September 30th of 2013, I opened my bar. I opened up my office there in Windsor. So as of September 30th, we've been open 5 years, which is really cool. And so, but I had to open up my own office because as a teacher, I found out some pretty strong things about myself. And one of those was that if you're an entrepreneur, that's just a fancy word for being unemployable. You can imagine when I was teaching in the public schools, the private Christian schools, the charter schools, and the alternative high schools, that they really didn't care about my ideas and making them better and greater. They just were like, shut up, we're all going to get para and just quit. And you know how well para works when you talk with John. So that's where we ended up. So I found out, I had too many ideas. The bosses didn't like people with ideas, so that's when I went out on my own. So I am proud to be a business person for 5 years. So what we do with that business coaching part of our program is we just help you make those small tweaks that are going to help your business get better, those small hinges that swing big doors. And so, I just do the experience that I have. Fortunately, our business has doubled for the last 4 years in revenue just because of implementing some things. And we can show other people how to do that. And that's basically what I come to you today and say is, if you're having trouble with your marketing, we can show you how to do that. And because I'm not a marketer, I can give you all the things that you can do, some of them for free, without saying, well, I'm a web designer, you have to do a web. You have to have a web presence. I don't have to do that because I can show you what you can do to make those things work. So that's who I am, a little bit about what I do, the business coaching that we try to do and help you with. Thank you very much for your attention, Dave.